I was sitting on the cold floor of the empty apartment when his laugh came back into my head. It wasn't loud, it wasn't exaggerated. It was worse, short, dry, satisfied. The kind of laugh from someone who believes he's won forever. The cardboard box in front of me held only 3 things: 2 chipped glasses, a wrinkled dress shirt, and the divorce papers, signed, stamped, finalized like an administrative eviction from my own life. It was raining outside. One of those Mexico City rains that don't ask permission. They arrive heavy and loud, washing the streets and sins together. The smell of wet asphalt rose through the open window, mixed with distant horns and street vendors pulling their carts in a hurry. That's when I realized I hadn't just lost my wife. I had lost my name. 2 weeks earlier, I'd still been engineer, husband, minor partner. Now I was the poor one. He made sure to say it out loud. The scene played out in the law office at 11 in the morning. The air conditioning was too cold, the coffee too bad. I was still wearing my wedding ring, he noticed, smiled before sitting down. "You should have thought better before signing anything," he said, crossing his legs with rehearsed calm. "But I get it. People without money tend to act out of desperation." My ex-wife said nothing. She stared at her phone as if real life were an inconvenient notification. The lawyer cleared his throat, tried to keep protocol, failed to stop him when he leaned across the table, bringing his face close to mine. "No assets, no house, no company," he listed, savoring each word. "What's left of a man like that?" That's when he laughed. 1 second, maybe 2. But enough to break something inside me cleanly, irreversibly. I didn't answer. Not out of maturity, out of instinct. Something told me that silence would charge interest later. Now, alone in that apartment that would stop being mine in 3 days, I replayed the laugh in my mind like alcohol rubbed into an open wound. It hurt, but it kept me awake. I stood and walked to the window. The street was alive despite the rain. Taquerias open, yellow lights reflecting in puddles, Latin music spilling from a car stopped at the light. The city kept living, indifferent to my private collapse. That's when my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello?" I answered, my voice rough from days without real sleep. Silence on the other end, then a calm breath. "Cousin," the voice said, with an accent I'd known since childhood. I heard. I closed my eyes. Miguel, my older cousin, the first to cross the border, the first to come back with money in his pocket and stories no one confirmed, but no one denied either. "I didn't want to bother you," he continued, "but I heard some ugly things. They said you were humiliated." I swallowed. "It's exaggerated," I lied. "Divorce stuff." He laughed, but not like him. Miguel's laugh was low, brief, humorless. "No, when they exaggerate, I know, and when they don't, I know that too." The silence between us was thick, heavy with years of distance and shared blood. "Where are you?" he asked. "At the old apartment, for now." "Pack a backpack," he said, without raising his voice. 2 changes of clothes, documents, nothing you'd miss if it disappeared. My stomach turned. "Miguel, I don't have the head for drama." "This isn't drama, cousin," he replied. "It's respect. And someone messed with yours." I looked around. The boxes, the empty walls, my life reduced to disposable objects. "I don't have money," I admitted, "or pride left." "Perfect," he said. "Come clean then." The call ended before I could ask anything else. I stood there, phone in hand, listening only to the rain and the distant city. A strange feeling grew in my chest, not exactly fear, but something more dangerous. Anticipation. That night, as I packed clothes into an old backpack, I noticed something I'd ignored until then. I didn't feel shame anymore. I felt something else, quiet, controlled, like the silence before thunder, and for the first time since his laugh, I knew this wasn't over yet. The meeting point was an old bar in Colonia Doctores, one of those places that survived decades without ever trying to look modern. Flickering sign, scratched metal door, permanent smell of spilled beer and old grease. I arrived before 8. Miguel hated being late. The rain had turned into a thin drizzle, the asphalt still shining under yellow. Street lights. I walked in with the backpack on my shoulders, feeling its weight heavier than it actually was. Not because of what was inside, because of what it meant. Miguel was sitting in the back, his back to the wall, full view of the bar. No surprises there. Dark jacket, unshaven beard, alert eyes like someone who never fully switches off. Beside him sat 2 men I didn't know, but I recognized them instantly. Mexicans recognize their own, not by faces, by silence. "Cousin," Miguel said, standing to hug me, strong, brief, his way. "You're thinner." "You're older," I said. He smiled faintly. The others just nodded. One had a thin scar across his eyebrow. The other, hands too big for the small glass he held. We sat. Miguel signaled the bartender without looking. 2 beers arrived as if already waiting. "Drink," he said. "Not to forget, to endure." I obeyed. The liquid went down, bitter and cold, waking something I'd numbed for weeks. "Tell me," Miguel said. "No cutting the ugly. Parts." I told him everything. The marriage falling apart, the company sold for a fraction of its value, misplaced trust, the lawyer's pitying smile, and his laugh. When I reached that part, my voice faltered for half a second. Miguel noticed. He laughed, I said, not just at me, at what I became. Miguel stayed quiet for a few seconds, rolling the bottle between his fingers. Then he looked at the 2 men. "This is Luis." He pointed to the scarred one. "And that's Rafael." They raised their glasses in silence. "Brothers," Miguel continued, "not by blood, by debt. And debt, cousin, we pay." A chill ran up my spine. "Miguel, I don't want violence," I said quickly. "I just needed to leave, breathe." He looked at me calmly, old seriousness. "You think this is about violence?" he asked. "This is about limits. When someone laughs like that, it's because they think they'll never hear an answer." He leaned forward. "Remember Uncle Ernesto?" I nodded. "He used to say, when they take everything from a man and still laugh, they're asking to see what's left." The bar was fuller now, loud laughter near the door, old music from the jukebox. But our table felt isolated, wrapped in heavy attention. "Where is he now?" Miguel asked. "Still with the company," I answered. "Growing, new headquarters, new name on the sign." Miguel smiled faintly. "Good. People like that love to be seen." Luis spoke for the first time, voice low and controlled. "We already looked into him." My heart raced. "What do you mean?" Rafael finished. "Hidden debts, angry partners, an ego bigger than his structure." Miguel raised a hand for silence. "No one here does anything without you understanding everything," he said. "You didn't ask for this. But family doesn't wait for permission when it sees injustice." I looked at them, at Miguel, at the improbable scene where my humiliation became a strategic topic. "What do you want from me?" I asked. Miguel didn't hesitate. "I want you to remember and who you are, not to shrink, to be present." "Present how?" He pulled out his phone, opened a photo, turned it toward me. It was him, smiling, in front of the new building, expensive suit, confident posture. "Tomorrow," Miguel said. "There's an event, official opening, press, partners, family." I swallowed. "I can't show up there." "Not as a victim," Miguel corrected. "As a witness." Luis tilted his head. "Sometimes the right silence is louder than any shout." Something reorganized inside me. Fear, yes, but also clarity. "And if it goes wrong?" I asked. Miguel finished his beer and stood. "It already went wrong once, cousin," he said. "Now we just changed the ending." We left the bar together. The drizzle had stopped. The city breathed heavy, like it knew something was about to happen. As we walked down the wet sidewalk, I noticed something simple. For the first time since the divorce, I wasn't walking alone. And that changed everything. I slept little. At least I did. The makeshift mattress in Miguel's apartment felt made of memories too hard to rest on. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his smile stamped on that new building's facade. It wasn't anger keeping me awake. It was anticipation, an electric feeling, uncomfortable, like something was being prepared inside me without asking permission. The day dawned grey, overcast, heavy, promising rain, but delivering only thick air that clung to the skin. Miguel was already up when I got up. Strong black coffee, served in silence. Luis and Rafael arrived soon after, punctual, like their clocks ran on another time. "Today isn't about confrontation," Miguel said as I put on my shoes. "It's about presence." I nodded, even if I didn't fully understand yet. The building was on Reformer Avenue. Glass, steel, lines too modern for someone I knew so well. Architecture meant to erase the past with clean reflections. Banners announced the inauguration. Expensive flowers, dark carpet, private security. We arrived. Separately, their instruction, no group, no attention. I went in alone. The lobby smelled like new money and expensive perfume. Carefully placed voices, calculated laughter. That corporate theatre where everyone pretends absolute success while hiding structural cracks behind champagne flutes. I took a glass, didn't drink. I watched. He was there. Of course he was. Center stage, as if the space had been designed around his ego. Dark blue suit, discreet tie, wide smile, shaking hands, giving hugs, posing for photos. Then he saw me, not immediately, gradually. His eyes passed over me automatically, then returned, froze. I saw the exact moment his brain tried to place me into a comfortable category. Old employee, wrong guest, ghost. When he truly realized who I was, the smile didn't fall. It adjusted. People like him train that. He approached slowly, confidently, like someone in full control of the narrative. "Well, look at that," he said, loud enough for nearby ears. "You here?" "Open invitation," I replied calmly. "Thought you wouldn't mind." He laughed, social, rehearsed, not like the office laugh, but I saw the tension in his eyes. "Always good to see familiar faces," he said. "Even after everything." "After everything," I repeated. Brief silence. He looked around, measuring audience, then leaned in. "I'll admit I was surprised," he murmured. "Thought you'd be sorting things out." "I am," I said. "I just decided to come here today." His gaze hardened for a second, then softened again. Professional mask. "I'm glad," he said. "Truly. That's when it happened." Luis appeared to my left, talking to an investor. Rafael further back, with someone from the press. Miguel still unseen. But their presence was clear, not loud, precise. I saw an investor frown, saw a journalist change tone. The domino effect start to move, silently. He noticed too. "Did you come alone?" he asked, too casually. "No one ever really comes alone," I replied. He swallowed. "Let's not ruin the mood," he said. "Today is an important day." "For you," I corrected. "For me, it's just clarifying." That's when Miguel appeared. Not as a threat, as solid presence. He walked up calmly, stopped beside me, placed a hand on my shoulder like greeting an old friend. "Cousin," he said. "Beautiful place." The color drained from his face. "Do you know each other?" he asked, too fast. "Family," Miguel answered. Simple. The silence that followed was dense, not awkward, revealing. Well, he tried to laugh. Always good to see families united. Miguel inclined his head slightly. Especially after difficult separations, he said. That's when you learn who was really there. An assistant approached, nervous, whispered something in his ear. Sweat appeared on his forehead. Confidence began to leak. I need to take care of something, he said, stepping away. Enjoy the event. He walked off too fast for someone who owed nothing. Miguel didn't smile. Now you understand, he said quietly. It's not about taking him down. It's about showing he doesn't control the stage alone. I stood there, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Balance. The event continued, but the center had shifted. Conversations no longer orbited only him. The shine had cracks. When we left, the sky finally broke into heavy rain. Water washed the glass facade, distorting reflections. Is this over? I asked. Miguel looked at me seriously. No, he said. Now he'll react. And people like him, when they feel exposed, make mistakes. As rain hammered the ground, I knew. His laugh had only been the beginning. He reacted faster than I expected. The morning after the event, I woke to my phone vibrating non-stop. Messages, missed calls, notifications from numbers I hadn't saved in months. People who never cared about me now wanted to talk. The smell of old coffee still hung in Miguel's apartment when I read the first message carefully enough to understand the move. We need to clarify some things. Urgent. I smiled without humor. Clarifying in that language always meant erasing tracks. He's scared, Miguel said from the sink, watching my face as I read. When a powerful man starts calling too early, he didn't sleep. Luis arrived soon after, bringing bread and news. Rafael followed, carrying that focused silence of someone who lives by observing patterns. He called 2 former partners last night, Rafael said. One already talked too much. My stomach tightened. About what? About the company's cash not being as healthy as it looks, and about someone signing things he shouldn't have. Miguel watched me closely. Does this still hurt? He asked. I thought before answering. Not like before, I admitted. Now it feels distant, like I'm watching another man's story. Miguel nodded. That's how recovery starts, when the blow stops being personal and becomes just fact. We went out separately again. The city felt different that day, louder, hotter, or maybe I was finally noticing things I used to miss. Bus noise, street food smells, people rushing. Everything kept moving without asking permission, including me. Mid-afternoon, he called. I answered. We need to talk, he said, blunt. You already said that. Don't be childish, he snapped. I know you were there yesterday to provoke. I was there because I wanted to be, I corrected. I didn't know presence was provocation. Silence, controlled breathing. What do you want? He asked. The question surprised me, not because he asked it, but because I already knew the answer. Nothing, I said. I want nothing. He laughed. Short, nervous. Not the office laugh. A laugh from someone who realized he'd lost an important card. Everyone wants something, he insisted. Money, a statement, part of the company. You still don't get it, I replied calmly. This isn't a negotiation. I hung up before he could respond. That night, Miguel took me to a discreet rooftop far from downtown. You could see part of the city, lights spread like a living map. The wind was colder up there, clearer. He'll try to flip the narrative, Miguel said. Say you're unstable, being manipulated. I figured. That's why tomorrow you do nothing, he continued. Don't answer, don't appear, don't react. And that helps how? Miguel smiled faintly. Men like him go crazy when there's no reaction to fight. Luis confirmed with a short nod. Silence creates space, he said. And in space, truth leaks. That night I woke to a sharp thought, the exact memory of the day I signed that cursed contract, trusting too much, questioning too little. For the first time, I didn't feel anger at my mistake. I felt understanding. I wasn't weak, I was human, and humans learn. The next morning, news began circulating. Nothing explicit, nothing accusatory, just internal adjustments, financial reviews, strategic changes, language meant to hide a fire behind elegant smoke. My name appeared in a small paragraph. Former partner. Litigious exit. Administrative disagreements. They didn't lie, they just chose the wrong focus. He's bleeding slowly, Raphael said, reading headlines, and trying not to scream. Miguel looked at me seriously. Now comes the dangerous part, which is, when he realizes he can't hit you directly, Miguel said, he'll try to hit those around you. I thought of my ex-wife, her silence, her distant look. He won't reach her, I said, more, to myself. Miguel paused. Desperate people cross lines, he said finally. You need to be ready. Ready. The word echoed as night fell again over the city. I hadn't asked for this war, but I wouldn't run from it, because now I knew. His pride was wounded, and wounded pride misses its target. I knew something was wrong before I even read the words. It was the tone, too short, too formal, sent too early not to be urgent. We need to talk in person. It's serious. It was her. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, feeling that old tightness try to return. It didn't fully. It came different, colder, sharper. Miguel noticed immediately. Who was it? Her, I said. She wants to see me. Miguel didn't say, I warned you. He just grabbed his jacket. Where? A cafe near the old apartment. We go together, he said. Not a suggestion. Protocol. The cafe hadn't changed. Small tables, fogged glass, smell of warm bread and burnt coffee. Neutral ground for conversations that don't want witnesses. She was already there, alone, stirring her cup without drinking. She saw me and smiled faintly, a tired smile. Thanks for coming, she said. You said it was serious. Miguel stayed a few meters away, pretending interest in the menu, present but distant. He contacted me, she said, straight. My stomach tightened. When? Last night. Said he needed to warn me about you. I closed my eyes for half a second, breathed. Warn about what? She hesitated. That you were getting involved with dangerous people, that you were obsessed, that it could end badly for me. The audacity almost made me laugh. And you believed him? She looked at me, for the first time in a long while, without superiority, without defense. No, she said. But I understood the message, which was that he's scared. I nodded. He tried to use you, I said, as a shield, as pressure. She nodded slowly. He always did that, she said softly. When he loses control, he tries to control whoever's nearby. Silence settled between us. Strange. Not hostile, just too honest. I don't want to be in the middle of this, she said. But I won't be used. You're not in the middle, I replied. You're outside, and that's where you should stay. She breathed easier. He asked me to convince you to sign an agreement, she added. Publicly renounce any link to the company. In exchange, he'd help clear your name. I smiled, humorless. Clear what? She didn't answer. You won't sign anything, I said. No, she confirmed. I told him that. Miguel approached quietly. Everything okay? She nodded, glanced at him, then back at me. I didn't know half of it, she said. About the money, the maneuvers. Maybe I didn't want to know. We choose what we can bear, I said. She stood. I just wanted you to know, she said. He's getting reckless. Thank you, I replied, and meant it. She left without drama, without a scene, just a tired woman stepping out of a story that no longer served her. Miguel sat across from me. "He crossed the line," he said. "Family doesn't get involved. Ex-wife even less." "I know." "Now the tone changes," he continued. "No more passive exposure. Now it's containment." "What does that mean?" Miguel took a breath. "It means he'll fall because of what he already did, not because of what we'll do." Luis called that same afternoon. "Confirmed," he said. "Independent audit. Investor pressure. One contract he signed. Without reading came back. And him, trying to blame former partners," Luis replied. "Including you," I smiled faintly. "Predictable." That night, I walked the city alone. I needed to feel the ground, the noise, real life, not the distorted version he tried to sell. I passed a crowded plaza, laughter, kids running, street vendors. No one knew my name. No one cared about my corporate past. And yet, I felt whole. My phone buzzed one last time that night. A message from him. "You have no idea what you're causing." I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I blocked the number. Some answers don't need words. And I knew his next move would be his final mistake. His final mistake wasn't big. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't make headlines in bold letters. It was too small for someone so used to believing himself untouchable. I found out through Miguel in a short call. No frills. "He signed," he said. "Tried to save his own skin too fast." "Signed what?" "An internal statement, admitting unilateral decisions, shifting responsibility, trying to seal the leak before it became a flood." I stayed quiet, staring out the window. The city was clear that day, rare blue sky, the kind of morning that doesn't match a downfall, yet they happen anyway. "Did it work?" "Quite the opposite," Miguel replied. "It confirmed everything they suspected." I hung up and stood there, feeling something unexpected, no urge to celebrate. Hours later, Rafael sent the details. Investors pulled back. The audit moved forward. One bank froze credit. Nothing illegal enough for handcuffs right away, but enough to rip the ground out from under him. He didn't lose everything. He lost control. And for a man like him, that's worse. That afternoon, I walked into a random cafe, ordered something simple, sat by the window. People passed by without knowing who I was, who he had been, who we had been to each other in that quiet game of power and contempt. My phone buzzed one last time with an unknown number, I answered. "It's me," his voice said, tired. No mask, no arrogance. "I know." "You won," he said. "Is that what you wanted to hear?" I thought for a few seconds. "No," I replied. "I wanted to stop hearing you." Silence. "You exposed me," he said bitterly. "No," I corrected. "You exposed yourself. I just didn't hide." He breathed heavily. "You could have asked for something," he insisted. "You could have come out ahead." "I did," I said. "Just not the way you understand." I hung up. I didn't block him, didn't insult him, I just hung up. That night, Miguel took me back to the same rooftop. The city glowed below, indifferent to individual stories. He handed me a beer. We clinked bottles without words. "It's over," he said. "It's over." And now I looked at the horizon, thought of the empty apartment, the backpack, the laugh, the silence that followed. "Now I rebuild," I said. "From zero. No rush, no stage." Miguel nodded. "That's how strong men do it," he said. "They don't prove anything, they just keep going." We stayed there a while longer. Cold wind, lights, distant city noise. I hadn't recovered the company, or the marriage, or the status. But I had recovered something rarer, my inner name, my posture, my peace, and his laugh. I never heard it again, and in the end, that was the loudest answer of all.